And a welcome into the task force. I'm Dan Leach, a special edition brought to you by your local Xfinity community reps. And who better to have when it comes to that than my guys, Lawton Lunce, Doug Rose. Welcome. I love the hat from Doug. He's got the Wolverine, maize and blue, the guitars, even though he can't play guitar. And we got Lawton with the Magic Johnson jersey. You got the bobbleheads, the Bad Boys mug. Welcome in, guys. Lawton, let's start with you. And it's great. By the way, before we get into anything else, let me just say it's great to have people watching all around the country. We've got this is the Heartland region for Xfinity. We've got people in Indiana, obviously in Michigan, and welcome into everybody. We got lots to get to, a special guest, all these different surprises throughout the show. So thanks for being involved. Very excited. But I want to introduce you and Doug first here, Lawton. Lawton, you and I go way back. My former broadcast partner, great friend, fantasy league villain, because I beat you all the time. A lot of fun you and I have had for many, many years. Let everyone know a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So Lawton Lunce with Xfinity Communities. So it's just ironic how this whole show came to talking about possibly doing some virtual events. Our position, we are representatives for apartment communities and that sort of thing. And we have been unable most of the year to go to these sites where we used to host events and provide support for our property partners and whatnot. So we started thinking, hey, how can we do some virtual events? And of course, I thought, what a great idea. Sports brings people together. So we invited a lot of our colleagues, a lot of our residents from the communities within the Heartland region, and also property partners. And hopefully they're all going to enjoy this tonight, giving them a little Indiana, Michigan, Heartland region sport team review. So
yes,
should be good.
Oh, like I said, we're going to talk about the current state of sports. I don't want to give away too much. We got a big guest that's coming up a little bit that I talked to a little while ago, a good friend of mine. Speaking of the state of sports, he's one of the great guys to talk about that. But also, when it comes to right now, we are streaming across multiple platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and for the first time ever, with help from Lawton's son, I got Twitch. I got a Twitch account. So we're twitching tonight. I feel like Ninja or any of these crazy gamers that are making millions of dollars more than I am. Doug, let's bring in the great Doug Rose. I call him Every Rose Has a Thorn. He's got the right hat on. Doug, tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it. And just like Lawton here, working with Xfinity Communities. And when we, COVID hit, obviously the game changed for us. And as Lawton stated, we're just trying to think of any way that we can reach our property professionals and the residents there that have our cable services, have our internet services, and we really, it's a great opportunity to be with you, man. And of course, Go Blue, right? I represent Ann Arbor and the Ypsi area, so I myself went to Eastern Michigan, but always representing the maize and blue, man. So thank you for allowing us to do this special episode with you.
It's my pleasure, and I've been really excited about this. And I got to give both you guys, especially not that you did do a lot of work too, Doug, but Lawton has gone above and beyond, spent hours and hours helping me prep for the show. So thank you to both of you guys for that, because I'm a one-man band, and I love that, but it's not easy to put things together like this. And believe me, you guys have been a huge help, so thank you. And it's an honor to have this show be brought to you by your local Xfinity community reps. And I do want to say this, that we're living in a time like no other, especially in our lives. I mean, maybe we got people that are over 100 watching right now. I hope we do. I skew old sometimes my demographic. They were alive during the Spanish flu. This is a pandemic. Entertainment at home for families, for your personal reasons, for sports, which we'll get into in a little bit. It is so key. And Lawton, I know that Xfinity's got you covered. I mean, you've been telling me about the amazing sports app and then talking into the remote stuff and all the different features that Xfinity has. I know it might sound, like a secondary thing when we're talking about life and death and crazy times and just a time, like I mentioned, that none of us have really ever gone through before. But having that ability to watch TV and sports, get around the TV with the family, it means a lot right now. It really does.
It does. It keeps you entertained. And the Xfinity X1 Sports app is a great way to keep up with your local teams in case there's any pivots or scheduling adjustments. I think to just last week when the Cardinals had that outbreak, the St. Louis Cardinals baseball team had the COVID outbreak. Detroit Tigers went to play and they had to cancel the series. That X1 Sports app will help you keep up with all of your teams and schedules and statistics. It is sports overload. And, if you're like me, I'm a huge sports fan. I use it all the time. And honestly, it just keeps me in the loop with things, anything I want to know. So.
Well, and I want to do one thing before we get into, we're going to talk about that Xfinity X1 Sports app in just a bit, but I want to kind of go over where we're at in the sports world because we're obviously all big sports fans. And I just want to let people know if they do have any questions, throw them in the live chat. We already have people, Lawton and Doug weighing in from Phoenix, Arizona. Alan Silver saying, Dan, use sunscreen. I moisturize. And unfortunately, also saying, go green. How about Hugo? Hugo, my man. Go
There's
blue.
Hugo.
I like that as well. But also, we want to let people know that during the show, and obviously going forward, if any of the viewers are interested in supporter services from Xfinity, please call that number down there, 734-887-6008. A rep will reach out to you directly. You can text also XC Task Force. I love having our own little promo Task Force code. So I like that. So call that number, and don't forget to text XC Task Force as well if you need any help, any questions from guys like Doug and Lawton. And we appreciate, once again, Xfinity bringing this to us tonight. And we're excited to do a great show for everybody. And I mentioned I got a good special guest, a national guy coming up in just a bit, and a good friend of mine. But let's start with this. And I'll admit, and I'm glad, listen, I'm not right all the time. I'm right 80% of the time, all the time, Doug and Lawton know this. But I'm glad that I was wrong about, the NBA and the National Hockey League and Major League Baseball coming back. I thought they would never come back this year. I thought it would be next year. I thought that there was just too many moving parts. We'll see what happens with baseball. I mean, the Mets just announced literally before we went on air here that they have 2 COVID positive tests. Games postponed on the Mets end. We know what's going on with the Cardinals. Multiple, postponements for their situation. And the NBA's bubble is working brilliantly. The NHL's bubble is working, brilliantly. So I'm glad I'm wrong about that. But starting with you, Lawton, when you look at the NBA, Major League Baseball, and hockey coming back, are you surprised that they're back and all working right now?
Not at all. I think they've done a great job in bringing and doing what they can. It looked a little weird at first when Major League Baseball had those cardboard cutouts in the stands. I think they've gone away from a lot of that. And I will say, out of all of them, I think the NBA bubble has done just a fantastic job. I'm watching some of these games, and I'm not even realizing there's not fans there. So I think they've done a really good job with that. And the games are really intense. I feel like this is some of the best NBA basketball we've seen in a long time. A lot of the teams are healthy now. And you're starting to see, teams like the Clippers, it's starting to get questionable in that Maverick series, things that you didn't think you would see. So I'm truly enjoying, especially from the NBA standpoint. I think they've done a really good job. And NHL, I feel like that's been pretty intense, some of those playoff games too. So from a player perspective, they're all in, and it's great to watch.
Doug, what about you? What have your thoughts been since sports have come back now for almost a month and a half or so?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, just very excited to have sports back, and the way that they thought about doing it with the NBA bubble and the NHL and Major League Baseball. I mean, I think what it really takes is a commitment from the players and the staff and everybody involved to be safe. And you've seen that for the majority of the teams, that they've really been committed to the safety and preventing any spread within the teams or within the different leagues. So, I was really excited when I heard that they would be making their return, and so far so good. So I hope, I got my crossed, that the NFL will be able to do the same thing, and hopefully maybe we'll see some college football as well too this year.
I hope, but that's something that I've said from the start. I do not think we're going to see it all. And you see, obviously, UNC or North Carolina had campus classes, in campus classes. They have now shut down. Michigan State was going to have people in the dorms. They are not having people in the dorms. I just can't see, if you don't have students on campus or in campus classes, that you can have college football. We'll see about that. Before we get to how Xfinity has you covered with all the sports that are at least back right now, I wanted to give you guys each a brief second, and we'll start with Lawton, about a little more of what you do for Xfinity.
Sure. So in a nutshell, I always used to tell folks that would ask that question, we do events, marketing, and support. So we try to come up with these strategies for our communities and working with our property partners to increase the active customer base at the community by providing those educational lunch and learns, doing events, and really just being approachable to the residents of these communities. And it has worked wonders. This program started back in 2015, and I was just so blessed to be able to be a part of it from the beginning. And honestly, it's been a really good job. We've had to transition some things, but I feel like now, if we were to re-enter the field, we have so many virtual advantages now that we've learned. We're even more dangerous. So, would you agree with that, Doug?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the best parts is Xfinity has really put an extreme amount of money and investment and time into the customer experience, and we are just one small spoke on the wheel for that. So really developing the relationships with these property professionals, so that way we can help our customers and potential customers at the ground level at their property to ensure that they get the most advanced level of customer experience that they can possibly receive. And that's our commitment through these events, through these lunch and learns, through participating in community activities, volunteering with different things. It's just all part of the package with us at Xfinity Communities, and something that I'm really proud to go to work at every day.
I think it's
one thing. I was going to say one thing to add. Sorry, Dan. On top of that, our property staff, our property managers, leasing agents, and residents, it has been proven now within the last 5 years that us being that liaison has been so crucial to our success. And honestly, most of the community account reps that I know, we're vested in this experience and providing it for them. So just wanted to add that to what Doug said. We all love our job, you know what I mean? And it's a great thing when you have that. So
yeah, that's something that I was just going to say about, I've known you for a long time, Lawton, and I think this community angle on things. I mean, obviously Xfinity is an entertainment company. They do a lot of other things as well, but to feel like there's a community-based, kind of connection, I think that not enough companies do that. And knowing you and knowing how passionate you are, and same with Doug, I think that's why Xfinity is so successful, and why this is something that I think a lot of people are really enjoying, because it's not just about being a number and paying your bill and that, you're just kind of looked at as that. It's a personal thing. You guys do a lot of things in the community, not just obviously when it comes to sports and events, but really to kind of be, people to feel like they're part of the community. And that's something that I think is really important right now, especially during COVID.
Customer experience is our number one product, and we all have to live and breathe that. And I'm telling you, when I first started with Comcast back in 2015, the perception was not great. And I feel like we have definitely, by leaps and bounds, just exponentially increased in that department for the positive, So it's been a good run so far, and we're hoping it continues.
I know it will. Well, we obviously, got a little into what's going on in sports right now. We got a lot more of that coming up. But I think something that's really important right now, especially for sports fans, is how to keep track of it all. And I know that Xfinity's got something that does that. And let's kind of get into this. And I want to show this to everyone here. This is the Xfinity Sports app, the X1 Sports app. And I want to kind of play through this here and let you guys talk about what this is all about. Why don't we start with you here, Lawton?
Sure. So, I mean, it's pretty easy. This is the long way to get there. You can go to the app section, click on sports, and obviously you can see there's a ton of apps there. And it'll bring you up to, it'll shrink your screen a little bit, and you can see on the side there's all the sports that you can watch now. And then if you have specific teams you can load in. So of course, I got my Tigers and my Lakers in there, and so I can watch anything and keep up on it. If I want to check on like current standings or go into crazy analytics, I can do that all right from the remote. So it's a pretty cool thing. And then there's a shortcut too on the remote. Doug, if you want to go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah. By the way, Doug, I'm guessing you're on this like 20 hours a day. This is your run out of batteries.
I really wish that I had that much time to dedicate to the sports app, but I do not. However, I can see how someone could spend a ton of time on it. What's really great is with the voice remote, you can actually just say Xfinity Sports app right into the voice remote, and it pops right up, as Lawton was saying. But But I'll be honest with you, if you're looking for standings, if you're looking for, up-to-date scores on out-of-market games you can't catch on TV, if your wife, significant other, or whoever is watching their favorite show, as you can kind of see on the right here, you're able to scroll through different games and you don't have to interrupt the TV that maybe the kids, the wife, or whoever is watching. So it's a really intuitive program, and I'll be honest with you, you can't find it anywhere else. And it's really made the sports experience on TV much better. Not to mention, once again, fingers crossed that fantasy football goes off this year. But with fantasy football, you can track all your favorite players and the people that are on your fantasy team, whether it's your day-to-day fantasy with those day-to-day fantasy apps. I don't know if I'm allowed to say their name on your show, but
let's be careful. Just keep it kosher.
Yeah. But the day-to-day sports fantasy and your regular fantasy football team. So it's really great.
Oh, boy, I hope we have fantasy law. And obviously, you and I are in the famed UFFL Fantasy League, which, you know what? I'll do it. I wasn't planning on this, but
uh-oh.
I already know what he's going to do.
It anyway, because this is how I roll. When you're the champ, you're the champ. I am the Jew. That's right. Let's find it. This is a pretty sick trophy, I have to say. The league goes back to 1992, but you will see I am the Jew on there twice. Two-time champ, including my second year. A very emotional situation. And I can tell you this, we all talk a lot of crap in this fantasy league, but I talk probably more than anybody. And people were not
I can't imagine that.
The year of the curse of the baby chart that the Squatch got it done, weren't they?
Yeah, well, congratulations.
The second win is always more important. I'm only on that trophy one time, and anybody can get lucky once, right? So, yes. But the second win always kind of reinforces that first. So.
All right.
Congrats on that season.
We've got a really great friend of mine coming up, one of my favorite guys in the business. My good friend Rob Parker is going to join us here from FS1. Of course, a longtime Detroit sports guy. He'll join us in just one moment. But first, take a look at this.
Introducing Xfinity Flex, your personalized streaming dashboard, powered by a 4K device and our award-winning voice remote. It's easy to set up. First, make sure your Xfinity internet is activated. Then simply plug in your Flex device, connect it to your TV, and follow the on-screen instructions. If you're using your own modem, you'll need your Wi-Fi password to connect the Flex device to your network. Now, start streaming from your favorite app in seconds. Free ones, like YouTube, Pluto, Zumo, and Tubi. Or ones you subscribe to, like Netflix, Hulu, Prime Video, and more. Plus, Xfinity Flex includes access to Peacock Premium, a new streaming service from NBC Universal. That's a $4.99 a month value included at no extra cost to you. With Flex, you can watch your favorites in 4K Ultra HD. And with your voice remote, you can find your favorite shows. Play Law & Order SVU. Instantly search across apps. And even control your in-home Wi-Fi. Search less, watch more, and see how Xfinity Flex makes it simple, easy, awesome.
I feel like I want to flex right now. Is that the reaction to flex?
I'm always flexing. Always.
Right, but you do it in front of the mirror. I just do it in random places, like on the golf course and stuff. But no,
you sent me a picture today of you doing that on the golf course.
Doug, it really is a streamlined thing, and I think that as I mentioned, we're at a time period where entertainment is very important: sports, movies, TV, streaming, etc., internet, and Xfinity's got it pretty streamlined. It makes it really easy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and what more important time in the world to have to be connected to the internet, right? With school being virtual, with shows like this going completely virtual, it's super important that you have internet access. And Xfinity has so many different options, from Internet Essentials. You can visit internetessentials.com to check that out, all the way up to the gig service that we have. It's the fastest in the industry. So Xfinity definitely is the product that you want to be with, and I'm more proud to be with this company than any company, for sure.
Love it. All right, much more to come from us. We got to talk about some Big Ten football, or lack thereof. The NBA, the playoffs are going on right now. Big upset for Lawton Lunce's Lakers. You know what? I got to show you this, because we just got this comment in from Hugo. He wants to know, how bad are you going to cry when the Lakers lose to the Blazers in the first round?
There will be no tear shed because it's not going to happen. So I've already predicted they would do this in 5 games, and Portland got their one game. I can't imagine what that conversation was like in that locker room the other night after that loss. I think LeBron had just a monster triple-double, and Anthony Davis. And I think the real difference is with the Portland Trailblazers, they've got other guys contributing. They've got Gary Trent Jr., Nurkic. These guys are hitting threes. They're hitting big shots. And you've got Kuzma and a maybe on the Lakers. So I think if they find those other 2 guys that can contribute on a consistent basis, I think the Lakers will easily go into the next round.
All right, well, don't you worry. We'll get into some NBA coming up in just a bit. But first, a little while ago, he's got a show to do live. So I talked with my man, Rob Parker from FS1. Come on. Here he is, the man, Rob Parker. All right, so are you guys? I'm sorry. Are we not hearing any audio right now?
I wasn't hearing any audio.
I don't hear any audio.
All right.
I thought you would hear it on your end.
Sorry about that, everybody. We'll get right back to that. We should have the audio. Maybe the button was clicked. You suffer for me too. But let's get this going again. I apologize. And
it's going so smooth.
I know everything's good. All right, do we have audio now?
Not yet. Nope, I don't hear anything.
Not.
Oh, Lord. Well, I apologize. That's it looks like we don't have audio. We don't have audio. You guys couldn't hear anything? No audio from my man, Rob Parker. It was such a great interview. Oh,
maybe we'll get
Lord.
back before the end of the show.
Yeah, I don't know. That's unfortunate because Rob was fantastic, and I don't know why we're not having audio there. But you know what? We'll move on. Things are good. I do want to throw this in there and talk about what's going on with Big Ten football, because I think it's really important that it's, we need to stress this right now. We love sport. We want it back, but it's one of these things where I can tell you right now, safety and health is more important than sports. So I want to kind of feel where I want to get your guys' thoughts on where we're at with college football. We know we want it, but is it the right thing to do? We'll start with you, Lawton.
I think it's the right thing to do to not have college football this year. And I hate saying that because I love college football so much. But from a guy who's a Michigan State guy, my expectation for Michigan State football this year was 4 to 5 wins. So for them, it's good. They can redshirt some guys next year and have a little bit more time to get prepared for that rugged Big Ten season. But we're erring on the side of caution, and I think that is, although I would love a college football Saturday, there's too many variables when you talk about students on campus. The actual university has already gone fully virtual. So I think, like I said, I think they're doing the right thing.
Doug, when it comes to college football, you're wearing the Michigan hat, and I got some Harbaugh questions in a second, but let's be honest here. The Big Ten is kind of on this island. You got the commissioner, Kevin Warren. You got most of the schools, that know that right now is not the right time to play. But then you got Ohio State that is maybe willing to get kicked out of the conference to play. I know Iowa wants to play. Is this the right time for college football?
Well, first off, I just want to say, does Michigan State really ever have college football? Do they? I'm just
I
had to say it.
Leinsters.
But no, I mean, just as Lawton said, it's unfair, I think, to ask student athletes to do a bubble or anything like they're doing in pro sports. And I know a lot of them have come out and said that they really wanted to play, but it's just, how do you control a college campus? You can't. It's impossible. So I don't think it's the right time for college sports, unfortunately. As much as I love college football, and I was thinking about this yesterday, like, this is the weather. It's starting to change. It's getting cooler in the evening, and it's just, you feel like college football is upon us, and it just unfortunately doesn't seem like it's going to be. But I mean, I think, and I hate to say this, but there's probably no team more upset than Ohio State. They were destined this year to probably be the number 1 or number 2 team in the country. And they have to be very upset about this, the college football being canceled. So,
got to be better safe than sorry. And I think that we're, some of these conferences might try to play on their own, but I think in the end, even if they start, you see what's happened in baseball, and there's way more players in college football. Yes, most of them are young and in good shape and would be, affected. We don't know. There's obviously a lot of young kids that have gotten affected majorly or have passed away, sadly, from COVID. But it would just get worse and worse and worse, because you can kind of put people in a bubble in your own area, like in Ann Arbor or East Lansing or West Lafayette, wherever. But then the next thing you know, if you start traveling, you can't control everything. And even these pros that are making millions of dollars, they are leaving the bubble. So it's not like student athletes aren't going to go and want to party or see each other. That's natural. So I just think that it's not the right time to do that. But I do want to ask this when it comes to the Michigan people. I want to get into some Indiana stuff and Purdue stuff in a minute as well. We'll get to that with Lawton here. But, Doug, we're Michigan guys, and I've been very critical of Jim Harbaugh. I respect him as a human being. I think he's a damn good coach. But at Michigan, he's failed. And it's been 5 years, and it's 0-5 against the Buckeyes. And in all due respect to him, and I know people have challenged me on this, but I've gone through all the games. I won't do that right now. But in my opinion, the 10 biggest games, including all 5 Buckeye games, Trouble the Stat, which Lawton loved, the 2 New Year's 6 bowl games, Iowa, and a few others, they're all losses. If Michigan doesn't go to Indy and beyond, or at least Indy in year 6, is it time to move on from Harbaugh? And yes, that might mean firing him.
Well, I'll say this. I think if it was any other coach, we probably would have, A, already moved on from him. And B, it would, definitely be time to move on from coach whoever in the 6th year. But when it comes to Jim Harbaugh, I just don't see that there's anything the guy can do, outside of something illegal that would get him removed from the University of Michigan. And I think that, A, that's unfortunate because that could put a damper on the team for years to come. But I think you're right. I think this year or year 6, if he doesn't show some results, then you really have to look at it. But I don't see Michigan getting rid of Jim Harbaugh anytime soon.
Lawton, as the Spartan, I'm guessing you want him there until, I don't know, you're 116 years old. As an I say outsider. I mean, the Wolverines and Spartans, I call it a sickness. We love and hate each other and love to hate each other. But as a guy that's not a Wolverine fan, you have a different perspective than the Wolverine fans, Doug and I. What are your feelings on Harbaugh? I mean, aside from the fact that you want him to be there as long as he keeps losing.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think he's lucky this year because I think everyone was – it was Ohio State, and then everyone was just chasing number 2. So it probably would have been an 0-6 this year against Ohio State. Let's be honest. Ohio State is loaded. They're recruiting at a level that's unprecedented. Ryan Day is just doing a phenomenal job there. And, it's one of those things where Harbaugh, he has the name, but it's really odd for me to watch a Michigan football program that tolerates this type of thing. I've never seen it until Harbaugh got there. They didn't give Rich Rodriguez a lot of time. They didn't give Brady Hoke a lot of time. And I don't know. Like, I'm okay with Harbaugh being there, but I just feel like there has to be a moment where he beats Ohio State. One of his teams beat Ohio State, and it's got to be within the next year or two.
Nope, I'm with you on that. All right, we're going to try if we can get this Rob Parker interview going in a second here, and I apologize for the technical difficulties because when we were, prepping for the show, the sound was fine, right? I mean, I've never had this issue before, so I think I might have figured out what's going on. We'll try. It was a great talk with Rob Parker. So we'll figure that out in a second here. But Lawton, a couple questions to you. First, Mel Tucker's first year expectations, obviously whether they play this year or not, his first year, whatever that is. And also Indiana, Purdue. I know we got a lot of people from Indiana watching right now. I know it's the Heartland region when it comes to Xfinity communities. We got a lot of people from Indiana and that area that are Boilermaker and Hoosier Daddy fans. Answer both those questions if you would.
Sure. So Mel Tucker's expectations this year, I think they were going to be low. So under promise, over deliver. If they won more than 5 games, that would have been amazing. I know that the schedule, when they released it, when they took away some of the out of conference games, it didn't look favorable from our side. I think we had 3 home games. So again, 4 to 5 wins, I would have been just fine with that. And as far as Indiana, Purdue, one thing I'll say about the Big Ten is it's quietly getting better across the board. So, you've got Greg Schiano going back to Rutgers, and you've got, Maryland's up and coming. They've got Tua's brother at quarterback now. You've got Indiana and Purdue. I mean, these were all teams before. Indiana always gave us problems, always. It never failed. And I just feel like a lot of these teams are getting better, and there's no more gimme wins anymore in this league. And I think that's the most important thing when you talk about Indiana, Purdue football, is that all these teams are getting better, and all these games are going to get a lot tougher for the perennial contenders.
That they are. All right, I want to throw a comment up here, and then we're going to try to see if we can get Rob Parker and that interview that I did a little while ago back. Danny Martin saying, I feel like Warren, that's Kevin Warren, the Big Ten commissioner that took over for Jim Delaney, is a hypocrite. He's okay with the Big Ten shutting down, but he's okay with his son playing in the SEC. He's talking out of both sides of his mouth. I don't believe football should be played in college. They don't get paid. Well, before we get into let's leave that kind of paid thing on the other side. That's a totally different story. But I know Warren's son does play in the SEC. I have not really heard him say he's okay with his son playing, but he's in charge of the Big Ten. That's his job, not the SEC, not the Big 12, not the MAC. And as it stands right now, it's his first year. It's a hell of a year to take over as commissioner of one of the finest conferences in the world. But, where are you at with that, Lawton?
Well, how Warren reacts to all of these changes and pivots, the pandemic, that's going to be his true legacy, how he reacts to that. So there were some rumors this week that I read about, there was going to be some intramural play, but they weren't going to allow for, the big teams to play or the intercollegiate athletics. And, I think if you're going to shut it down, you got to shut it all down, and you just got to be bold and tell people that. When there's questions and there's rumors, you've got to come out and address them. So as long as he does that, I think, that will be a good foot forward. So, we'll see. But again, like I said before, I think they're doing the right thing, albeit I'd really love to watch some college football, but I understand.
Yeah, but trust me, I think we all would. By the way, as we do the show throughout, we're letting people know if they have any questions, please throw them out there on the live chat like Danny just did. And also, of course, if any of the viewers that are watching or watch this on replay are interested in supporter services for Xfinity, who's bringing this to unite the local Xfinity communities reps, Doug Rose. Every Rose has its thorn. And by the way, Doug, when are you going to break out the guitar? Can you play us like some Cashmere from Zeppelin? You going to play some Katy Perry?
Probably not on the show today. I'm not even prepared. I mean,
we'll do it next time. And of course, my man Lawton Lunce. Give that number a call. It's right on your screen, or you can text XC Task Force. Rep will reach out to you directly. It really is a family affair, a community affair with our friends at Xfinity. All right, guys, we're going to try this. I think I know what happened. I think I didn't select the right audio button. It should work. I spent a lot of time getting this ready. Let me know right away if we do have audio. We should. Let's find out. I hope so. Yes? No? Maybe?
No, still no audio.
No audio?
None.
Well, I guess we're going to have to do another
Rob looks good. He looks healthy.
Rob is my guy. I have no idea why it's not working now. We had a great interview. You know what? What we'll do is we'll do a special additional edition of this show. We'll put it up later tonight, and I'll play that interview because Rob was great. So apologies. I don't know why the audio's not working now because it was fine when we I haven't done it that way before ever. This is software that I started using called StreamYard a few months ago, and it's the best. I love it. But I was going to kind of chop it up into bits and pieces, and instead, I did the whole thing the way they told me to, so I apologize because we got to let people see that Rob Parker interview, and I'll post it online as well. Let's get back to this, though. Lawton, you're a big NBA savant. You're a little too obsessed, in my opinion. But I love it, though. The NBA, tons of fun. We got the playoffs. We got your Lakers making you cry. Let's talk about the NBA's restart into the playoffs and what your Lakers' chances are. Because let's be honest, Lakers are a great team. I picked the Clippers, Bucks, pre-COVID, preseason. The Clippers at 7 to win the title. The Lakers have a shot, but they are not playing Laker basketball as of late in this restart. They're not the same team pre-COVID. LeBron isn't the same guy. I know he's getting older. Throw your feelings on the Lakers out there, but also the NBA restart and playoffs as a whole.
I think there is a overwhelming amount of pressure this year on the Los Angeles Lakers to be successful and win this championship. Because, like I said on the show last week, Dan, I mean, we have a situation where next year we're watching teams get better before our eyes across the league. And then you have, oh, by the way, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant come back for the Nets next year. Oh, by the way, Clay and Steph come back next year for the Warriors. So there's going to be additional teams that are going to get better. LeBron's going to be another year older. And I feel like if he does not seize this opportunity, it's going to be an ultimate failure with his tenure as a Laker.
Yeah, I think so too. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say their chances. I still, until they get knocked off in a 7-game series, I still like their chances to make it to the finals. And that's me taking the Laker jersey and the hat off. I still feel like you've got 2 generational players. You've got the ghost of Kobe Bryant. You've got a named player that most people that watch basketball know at every single position. So the excuses, we're in Laker Nation, we are for no excuses this year. It has to get done.
All right, I'm going to give you my 2, and I want 2 from you. And then we'll give Doug a chance to pick his champion. By the way, Danny Martin took Portland tonight plus 6.5. AD disappears in the 4th. LeBron can't do it on his own. The Lakers are winning by 30 tonight, FYI. So lay the 6.5 because they're not losing 2 in a row. They could lose the series. And Dame Lillard is just out of his mind. But I'm going to give you 2 teams. One of them let me down in game number 1. I think they should have won. They let most of the way till the end. The Pacers, TJ Warren, the way that team is kind of gelled together in this restart, they're my possible shocker in the East. In the West, they lost last night too. But Jokic, the Joker, in amazing shape. Jamal Murray. I love the Nuggets. Those are my 2 surprise teams. Who do you like in each conference, aside from your Lakers, Lawton? I know Jack Nicholson's watching, so you don't have to kiss his ass.
We got to show some love to the Toronto Raptors. Listen, they are the champions. They have over-exceeded my expectations without Kawhi Leonard. So I like the Toronto Raptors possibly coming out of the East or the Bucks. I think those are your 2 front runners. I show some love, though. I really think there's some excitement around the Pacers with TJ Warren after that trade. I think he's been a little neutralized versus Miami, but overall, that team is maybe 1 player away. Huge. Nate McMillan has done such a phenomenal job with the players he's been given, and so kudos to them. On the West, obviously besides the Lakers, the Clippers are starting to show a little bit of struggle against the Mavericks. But I like Denver too, man. I would not be surprised if Denver comes out of the West or even plays LA in the Western Conference Finals. Denver has the full package. They got a lot of depth, and they've got what the Lakers and a lot of teams are not. You said they don't look right. Denver's got 8 or 9 guys that can put up double figures in a game. So the depth there is dangerous.
All right, Doug, let's go to you here. And I know you're not taking the Lakers because I don't think you are. But who is your finals prediction? Who cuts down well, they're not going to cut down the Nets. Maybe they'll just kind of put them in their shirt. But who's going to win the NBA championship in that Larry O'Brien trophy?
Well, I'll say first off, I just want to say I couldn't be more thrilled with the fact that Philly is down 2-0 against the Celtics. I cannot stand the 76ers. I don't like how they built their team. So when they got routed the other day or yesterday, 128 to whatever, I was super thrilled with that. But to be honest with you, I agree with Lawton. I think the Bucks could definitely come out of the East. And then I'm going with the Lakers. I know that a lot of people will get mad at me for saying this, but I'm a huge LeBron fan. My boy Sully loves LeBron. I love LeBron. And I hope that the Lakers pull it out here against Portland. They struggled a little bit, but I think that might just be some rust. And LeBron's getting older, so he's got to take some time to get back into the game.
All right, I like it. By the way, great segue from Jason Brown here asking about the Pistons getting lucky in the draft lottery, which is tonight. I'm praying they get a top 3 because I want Obi Toppin from Dayton more than I've wanted a player in a long time. Maybe going back to Grant Hill or someone even before then. I think Obi Toppin is a game changer. We'll see what happens. The Wings got screwed. There's no way the Pistons are getting screwed. If that happens to both teams, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll just have 15 monsters. But
don't get me started on the Red Wings. I was so disappointed with that.
Just nut sausages. You got a playoff team in the Rangers. They get the number 1 pick. The Wings are by far one of the worst teams in recent hockey history points-wise, and they're not picking in the top 3. It's stupid. Anyway, that's a Gary Bettman thing. We'll get to the Wings in the NHL a little bit later. But Lawton, let's talk Pistons. I'm not a huge lover of the Blake Griffin deal. I love great Blake Griffin. Obviously, Drummond no longer a Piston. I think that they have the right coach. I really do. Dwayne Casey just actually was at my nephew's Little League softball game, coach pitching to the team his son is on. He's a great guy. He did great things for the Raptors. I know he didn't win a title, but a very good coach, a smart basketball mind. Pistons have some young talent, guys like Christian Wood, but it's all about drafting guys. Where are you at with the Pistons right now? You got season tickets.
I do. I'm a season ticket holder for the Pistons. And I tell you, man, each year they've gotten very stagnant, and it's unfortunate to watch, but you've got some really you got some aging players in Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin with a monster contract. And I feel like this is the year I hope Dwayne Casey really pushes them and says, hey, we got to go all in on you guys, because this whole resting and that sort of thing, it doesn't bode well for team chemistry. I'm hoping to get lucky. I really like Christian Wood a lot. I saw a lot out of him towards the end. After Drummond left last year, I felt like Christian was getting a lot more playing time. Siku's another a bright light for the future. So
the French freak. I call the French freak.
Yeah, he's great, man. He actually gets out there and plays. He's got to build up a little bulk. And Obi Toppin, man, you took the words I would love for them to get a player like that. He's a Midwest guy with a lot of grit, and man, I would have really liked to see what he could have done in this March Madness tournament this year.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing. I mean, obviously, I feel for high school football kids that are playing. Obviously, the kids last year, earlier this year, they had still a basketball tournament. But especially guys like Obi Toppin that are gonna, they're gonna have their time to shine in the NBA. How about all the kids that are never gonna sniff a pro basketball game unless they're buying a ticket or being brought by a friend? So it's tough. But Obi Toppin and Dayton was my pick to win it all. I think they would have. I know your Spartans were a live dog, but can I say Middle Tennessee? Can I say Syracuse and LCA? Disappointment in many recent years for Tommy Izzo. But your boys did get by Duke finally, but you lost to the semis, Texas Tech. But still, I think that Obi Toppin and Dayton would have cut down the nets. They actually would have cut down the nets. Doug, Pistons, it's been kind of no man's land for the last several years after at least 6 straight Eastern Conference Finals appearances and 2 NBA Final appearances. Do you think the Pistons, with a good draft pick, if they win the lottery or pick in the top 3 or 4 and make a couple good moves with Coach Casey at the helm, could they finally get back to contending again?
Well, I think the NBA is one of the sports where you got to have your 2 elite players. Obviously they had the 3 elite players with in Miami, and then now you've got Anthony Davis and LeBron, and I think that the Pistons, I really just don't see that happening for them. Even if they do get a top 3 draft pick, I just the ownership. I feel like Tom Gores, he does a lot of crazy things. I just don't see him making the right decisions when the time comes, whether it's at the trade deadline or drafting the right players. I just don't see it happening. You're right, though. Dwayne Casey is a great coach, and unfortunately, the Pistons this year were part of the Delete 8. But I don't know, maybe that's a blessing in disguise. They can reset, right, and kind of focus on their game plan moving forward. But we'll see tonight in the lottery. I mean, that could be a game changer, I suppose. But once again, I just don't see ownership with the Detroit Pistons doing the right things down the line when it really counts to get to that top 5 NBA team status. I just don't see it.
And I can tell you this: if they get screwed in the lottery the way the Wings did, I mean, obviously it's different in the NBA. They at least have a humane system, like in the NHL, it's a bunch of poppycock.
I still don't understand that. I still don't get it.
Just they're going to trust me. After this year, they're going to freaking change that system. But let's hope for the best when it comes to the Stones tonight. By the way, once again, we appreciate the show being brought to you by the local Xfinity Communities reps. Doug Rose, Lawton Lunce, do a hell of a job bringing all these communities together, and obviously doing a good job for Xfinity as well. And if you have any questions in support or services for Xfinity, text XC Task Force, or you can call 734-887-6008. Actually, Lawton, you wanted to text that to that number directly, right?
That's great. Yeah, we can have a representative reach back out or one of our support reps. This isn't the 800 number. This is us that are in the region, so we can get someone directed to the correct and appropriate rep.
All right, so get that done, fine friends. All right, by the way, Sully weighing in, saying Doug is the man. Now, Doug, be honest. I love Sully. By the way, I did a show with Sully, and I'm so proud of him for his new endeavors, Metro Detroit Golfers and his Brand 25 company. We did a show a week ago, 10,000 views. And I'm a big deal, but that's the Sully effect. But how much did you pay Sully to message that right now? Because I know he didn't do that on his own accord. Did you guarantee him $1,000 over 15 separate months? How much did you pay him?
No, I told him I would give him some golf lessons. So,
but by the way, look at that picture. Look at the profile picture.
So distinguished, man.
Is he posing for a portrait? Is he playing the piano secretly under that? What is going on there? Danny Martin with a great question, by the way. Are you going to talk about the Tigers? Yes, we are. Right now, I want to start with every rose has its thorn. You've got Casey Mize, Tarek Skubal. You got the youngsters. You got a team that started 9-5. We know this wasn't the year things were going to happen. But when you look at the youth, Doug, when you look at the possibility of some of these guys working out, when it comes to the future for this team, I think youth is the answer right now. Are you low on the Tigers, in the middle, or high on the Tigers right now?
Well, I mean, right now, obviously, they've got a lot of work to do. They've got to develop a lot of players, and we'll see how that turns out. With baseball, it's a coin flip for most of the development of the players. But I'll be honest with you, they have a really good core group of guys, and I wish Brian Bradley was on with us, man, because that guy knows his Detroit Tigers. But I just want to give a quick shout-out to him. He's getting married on Saturday, so he couldn't make it. Congratulations on that. But yeah, the Detroit Tigers, man, with the youth that they have, obviously Casey Mize pitching last night, I felt like he did a great job. I think it was 4 2/3 innings, 7 strikeouts, no walks. I couldn't have been more impressed. And, even Rod Gardenhire said a lot of good hitters were made to look bad by Casey Mize last night. So we'll see. Obviously, they've got, I would say, 3 to 4 years before we really start to see the results of a lot of these prospects. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I listen. We know the Royals did it. Went young, rebuilt, got it done, won a World Series. We know the Cubs did it. We know the Astros cheated and did it. But all 3 of those teams did similar things that the Tigers are either trying to do or ended up having happen to them because they weren't very good. 100 lost seasons, overall number ones, all that kind of stuff. The Astros, I think, did it the best way, and then obviously cheated. But can I say that again? They cheated. But I think you look at the Tigers, and you never know what's going to happen when it comes to a rebuild. But I think that these people that are like, oh, it's this rebuild's going terrible. Alan Vila has no clue what he's doing. It's going to take 3 to 5 years. Would you rather be bad for 3 to 5 years than good for a decade, or bad for 3 to 5 years, or bad for 2, good for 1, bad for 5, good for 1, bad for 15? It's about setting yourself up to contend for years, not a year, not 1 or 2 years, but years. So I think, obviously, we have no clue what Mize is going to be. We have no clue what Matt Manning's going to be, and other guys, the Tigers, Skubal, and some of the youngsters, Riley Green. But when you look at the Tigers farm system, it was ranked in the bottom 20s for years during the run to the World Series, the 2 World Series, and obviously the 4 straight division titles. It's now in some circles in the top 5 or 7, and at worst, middle of the pack, improving. That's what it's all about. It's about making the steps from A to B to C to D, and then becoming, hopefully, a long-term viable contender. There's no way to know for a couple more years, but when you're seeing with Gardenhire, the connection with the young kids, what you're seeing from some of these guys that are impressing, even in their first start, like a Casey Mize, you give him a home run, but he still showed you, and I talked to Anthony Fennick, the Tigers beat writer, from the Free Press on a show a month or so ago. He is ready. He was in college at the highest level. He's mature. His baseball skill, not just physically and emotionally mature, but his baseball skills are mature. So it's one of these things where I am definitely high and the future is bright, but there's a long way to go, a couple of years possibly. But I'd rather wait those couple of years and be good for 10 than, worry about things falling off and doing it the wrong way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you talked a little bit about the World Series era of the Tigers, and Dave Dombrowski, I mean, he sold the farm system, right, to get there. And I think that put the Tigers behind for so long. And for them to be able to crawl back and really develop that farm system that they have. And we haven't mentioned Spencer Torkelson yet.
Right.
I don't want to go out on a limb and say that he's going to be a Mike Trout Supreme type Major League Baseball player, but I think the kid has potential to be up there in the top 10 eventually in his career. And it's going to be interesting to figure out what position he really ends up playing with the Tigers. I know that they he's played third base predominantly, but it's probably, I'm going to assume, going to be more of a first base role for him. If he can get comfortable there, the sky's the limit, because I think building around him, Casey Mize and Matt Manning, Riley Payne, if all those players develop, you think you got that really strong core of players, then it's a few free agents away. You could really see the Tigers, I would say, like I said, 3 to 4 years making that playoff run, World Series run.
Mo Torkeltown? Mo Torque. I'll tell you this. He could be a once-in-a-generation Trout, Bryce Harper type talent. He could be.
No
way to know.
I don't think Bryce Harper's in that, though. I'll be honest with you. That's Bryce a different topic. But
he's got an attitude, but he's a pretty damn good player. Well, the point is that when he was on his way up, when obviously like Trout was on his way up, when Barry Bonds was on his way up, these were generational prospects that were known as 5-tool guys, power hitters, etc., great fielders when they were in high school. And that's the way Torkelson is. And he was incredible at Arizona State. He was worthy of the overall #1 pick. There's no way to know. Prospects can be a dime a dozen. He seems like the real deal. And I believe we're going to see him in the majors in a couple of years. It's not going to take that long for a guy like him. Lawton, when you look at the Tigers, we know how many people right now watching are so connected to that team. I'm lucky and honored by the Tigers to be called on to host Q&As with all the old Tigers and the 84 team and the 68 team. I know how much the team means to the fans. It's tough to see a team go from a long-term contender to just really one of the worst teams in baseball. But I wonder if you feel like the future is bright right now.
I do. I think the only thing I can really add to both of your comments, I think you guys hit all the nails on the head. I really like Ron Gardenhire. I think he's the right guy for the job. So you have a nice mix of things happening here. You're rebuilding the farm system. You got a great manager. And on top of that, you've got some future prospects and a very understanding fan base. This isn't like playing baseball in Philadelphia where we have to win now every year, every game. This is a very understanding. We've been through some lows. We've been through some highs as Tiger fans. And I feel like you've got 3 to 5 years. As long as you're showing progress to fans, they will continue to support.
Beautifully said. All right, a few more things I want to do before we go, and I want to let everyone know again that the Task Force Special Edition tonight brought to you by your local Xfinity Communities reps. Doug Rose and Lawton are two of those. We love them being with us here tonight. We're having a lot of fun. If you have any more questions, please throw them out there in the live chat. And as we said throughout the entire show, if you've got any viewers out there interested in supportive services from Xfinity, please text XC. I love our own promo code here, XC Task Force. To 734-887-6008, and a rep will reach out to you directly. That's 734-887-6008, and the text code is XC Task Force. So get that done. I want to throw the wings out there for D Rose. I know he's a big wings guy. I think that you thought for years you could play in the NHL. That dream died when you were 10. But it's okay to have – I thought I was going to be in the NFL as a quarterback. Like my dad was a country day until I was about 15. I should have known I was 6. But Red Wings – and my boy Kenny Cal, we talk about this all the time. I think that Red Wings fans were spoiled, like Yankees fans. We know that. But I do think they've got a great young core. And I think much like the Tigers, they've got a chance for a bump in the next couple of years to really become – I know it sucks they got jobbed in the draft lottery, but I think you've got a nice young core being built around Dylan Larkin, and the future is bright for the Red Wings, and that's a class organization. Obviously, the Tigers are too, but they know what to do. So it's like not that the Tigers don't have a good track record. They were bad at periods of time in the 70s, in the 80s, and the 90s. The Wings have been good for almost 30 years. And then obviously going back to the day with Gordie Howe and others, Ted Lindsay, and all the Cups in the 50s. But I think the Wings have a real chance to be a much better team and a really good team in the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not only are the Red Wings, it goes without saying, are a destination team for the NHL. Being part of the original six, it's just a team that a lot of guys want to play for. So I think that's an advantage that they have over teams like the Tigers, even the Pistons, is that they are a hockey destination city. The other thing, obviously, is they have Steve Yzerman at the helm now as general manager. And I mean, what better person to have, right? And I think, he built –
captain.
Yeah, right. He built the team in Tampa, and he did an amazing job there. And then obviously with the history of him playing with the Red Wings in Detroit, it's just the best situation possible for the Wings right now. And, with Seider and Zadina and Veleno, they once again have a great core. The only thing I'm concerned about, and I am a goalie, so I'm concerned about the goaltending. And in hockey, the goaltender is as important as the quarterback in the NFL. In my opinion. And, I think this is probably the end of Jimmy Howard's career. I hate to say it. He's put in a lot of great years for the Detroit Red Wings, but I think age is kind of, crept up on him here. And I hope for his sake that he does retire just because, I just don't see him having a real predominant role moving forward. And Bernier, he's a solid goaltender, but I don't think he's the future for the Red Wings either. So I know they've got a couple prospects. We'll see how those guys pan out. But right now, goaltending is honestly the biggest fear that I have for the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, and I'm with you, you said that beautifully. And Jimmy Howard's a great guy. I've covered the Wings for a long time. Jimmy's given me a lot of great interviews, very, very tough spots after tough losses, both regular season and playoffs. Along with my, good friend Jeff Rieger, who's the main reporter for the Red Wings. So a lot of respect to him. He really cares about the city, cares about the franchise, cares about the fans. That being said, it's about finding that next Ed Balfour, that next Jonathan Quick, that next young Ben Bishop, that hot goaltender that I don't want to say comes out of nowhere, but they need that goaltender of the future. Bernier flashes, has showed great flash in that. I don't think he's the guy. I could be wrong about that. I think it's about finding a 23 to 25. I know they got some guys in the system right now. The Wings do. But it's about finding that guy that could be a stud for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, be a guy that can win you a cup, snatch games, snatch playoff series, stand on his head. That's what they need, Doug. So good synopsis by you there, if I may. All right, rapid fire before we get going here. I want to cover a few things here. Then I got a kind of all Detroit encompassing sports question that we'll let both of you answer. I want to do a little Big Ten basketball here, though. Start with you, Lawton, when it comes to what we could see going forward if they play, which I don't think they will until next year. But regardless, you got Juwan Howard in Ann Arbor. I don't want to let Doug answer that one with the Michigan hat on. You obviously have Izzo looking for that second title in East Lansing. You've got a lot of very, very good, talented players in the Big Ten, good coaches. Where are we at with the Big Ten basketball season right now?
Well, I'll start with my Sparties. I feel like Tom Izzo's on an amazing run here, recruiting-wise. Number one player in the country out of the class for 2022 in Imani Bates. You've got Enoch, I think it's Bochy. I think that's how you say it. The number one player in Canada for that class. You've got a trio of players coming in for this season in 2021 with like Jaden Atkins and Max Christie and, of course, Pierre Brooks. I mean, these are phenomenally talented players. So the excitement in East Lansing for basketball is there. And let's be honest. I mean, Tom Izzo's been to the dance quite a few times, been to the Final Four many, many times, and has not been able to close the deal but one time. So he knows that that's the expectation. And these are the guys that can get it done. And as far as, representing the Indiana teams, Indiana basketball is another, like an institution to me. And they've been pretty lackluster under Archie Miller for the past 3 years. So I feel like their biggest area of opportunity for the Hoosiers is definitely three-point shooting. I mean, last season they shot under 33% all season. I feel like there hasn't been any tournament appearances, nothing really attractive in the Big Ten, sub 500. This is going to be a big year for them to really take that next step. And otherwise they may have to make some decisions on Miller.
By the way, Dark Sage, go ahead. Please comment on college sports. Throw that comment in there in the live chat. Doug, let's talk about Ann Arbor, Juwan Howard. I love the recruiting job he's done. Now this is the thing. And I knew Beeline decently well. Great guy, great coach. We know what he did with the 2 and 3 stars. I call him the Mark D'Antonio of college basketball because he'd take the guys that weren't the blue chip elite for. You mentioned Amani Bates. He would never get the Amani Bates guys. He'd get the Mitch McGarry's, the Trey Burks that at one point my good friend Carlton Brunch, who played at University of Detroit Mercy, he was ranked higher than Trey Burke, and then he turns them into these top-level players. So we know that John Beeline wouldn't get the 5 stars, but he could coach. Juwan Howard is getting the 5 stars. The question is, can he coach?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big question that everybody has. Obviously, just I think yesterday, Frankie Collins committed, so a great point guard that they've got now to run the floor. But when Juwan Howard signed on, I said that. I thought to myself, he's got the LeBron connections with Miami, and I think he's going to be a great recruiter because he went to Michigan, and he's, I think young enough to understand, these younger athletes and to really kind of, fire on all cylinders with them. But how is he going to be at managing the play on the floor? And I hope that he surrounds himself with some guys that can drop some plays with 3 seconds to go, because unfortunately, I just don't see it with Juwan Howard right now. And that's where John Beeline really shined. And I think that's what made Michigan so successful under John Beeline, was his play calling. And I just don't see that with Juwan Howard. So hopefully the recruiting can make up for that. And he can surround himself with some play callers, and they can really overcome his, not his strong suit. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that is definitely, listen, I think that it's going to take time. And when you're a guy, he did a great job coaching as an assistant in the NBA, very well respected. We know he's got the AAU connections. We know he can obviously get, the big players. And the question is, can he lead them the way Tom Izzo has, the way that Roy Williams does, getting the top level talent, but taking them to the next level and winning championships. That's the key. All right. We do have that comment that just came in from Dark Sage. You know what? This is from Twitch, and I've never had Twitch stream before. My first Twitch comment. I love it. I'm a Twitch guy. I'm a gamer. Those gamers make a lot of money. All right, I find it absolutely sickening that many of these universities stand to lose millions of revenue if sports are shut down or canceled this year, but I take issue with the Ivy League. I read somewhere they stand to make money even if sports are canceled this fall, and that is a big problem. Well, I think that's kind of on 2 different things. I mean, he actually goes on and says, I understand the Ivy League school sports are not a big part of their budget. They can afford to do without it, but it's very unfair. They can still make money while their universities may struggle financially without sports. To me, that is wrong, and it's something that still needs to address. Well, listen, the Ivy League has no scholarships. So I think that he might be talking about the fact that there's so much money in endowments in Ivy League schools. And Dark Sage, all due respect, we love the question, but I think you might kind of are misunderstanding about the Ivy League making money. They don't make that much money on sports. I mean, there's TV deals and stuff like that. They don't have scholarships, and they're also D1 in basketball, but 1 AA or FCS, the FCS now, in college football, but they don't have scholarships. So I don't think that is a correct statement as far as they're going to make money. It's about the fact that they've got a ton of money in reserve. So I just wanted to clear that up. I mean, Lawton, I'll let you weigh in on just on college sports in general. We know that. And I won't mention his name because it was kind of off the record, but I'm good friends with a local college basketball coach, and he said he thinks if there's no March Madness NCAA basketball tournament, 100 teams could fold in 1A. And in football, we know that at least 10 to 15 could fold if there's no college football. That being said, there are more important things in sports. We all love it. That's what we're doing a show on tonight. But it's about life and health and not dying or infecting others. And there's still, I know that some people don't believe this, but there's still student athletes, not athletes, student athletes. So there are more important things than making revenue off of athletes that are not getting paid. That being said, back to the Ivy League point before I go to you, Lawton, it's not, the Ivy League's not making money off of sports like these other schools are. So I think it's about endowment. LL?
Yeah, it's a complicated issue. What's your wealth without your health, right?
Right.
I feel like we're trying to decide between making money for the university and risking the health of the players, and it's a really tough thing. It's really unfortunate. But I appreciate the point that he makes in saying, hey, there are some leagues that are doing it better. Obviously, if you're thinking that there's 100, your local coach says 100 of these universities could fold, maybe they take some notes and they get together with some of these Ivy League people that are in these maybe like chief financial officers that are able to keep these universities up and running with all this going on. But I feel like it's a catch-22 situation. You go one way, it could be detrimental because you want to make the money. You go the other way, a lot of people are unhappy because their college football Saturdays are gone.
That's true. All right, let's do a little rapid fire here before we go. And by the way, I've come up with a solution. I really apologize about the Rob Parker interview not working audio-wise. What we're going to do as soon as this show ends, and it's, as I mentioned, I'm very excited that I got my own Twitch account. I'm very hip. Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I'm going to set up a just separate live stream of that Rob Parker interview. So anyone watching right now will be able to see that. It will be on replay. All the same sources. And by the way, Lawton, you put a QR code in the flyer for this event. Very highfalutin by you. So all the people that are watching right now, all your friends, relatives, cousins, former roommates, you'll be able to see the Rob Parker interview. I'll set that up for about 20 or so minutes from now, and it'll play and it'll be out there. So I apologize that it didn't work. I promise you it worked. When we tested it, you always test before, but live stuff, live streaming, you can have issues. So apologies there. Let's do some rapid fire, though. We will start with Lawton. I want to know on each team that I give you where they're at in the next 3 to 5 years. Lawton, Detroit Tigers.
Detroit Tigers, 3 to 5 years. I'm guessing they're going to be a perennial playoff contender.
All right, Doug.
Maybe a wild card.
Maybe a wild card. That's the best you'll give them in 3 to 5 years with Mize and Riley Green and Torkerner.
I think they're going to compete, but baseball's tough. I don't know if they can expand the playoff field, but it's tough to make the playoffs in baseball. So maybe a wild card.
How dare you not have faith in Tork and
I have faith. I mean, it's tough in baseball. Look at the Yankees those years. They didn't make the playoffs every time. So
if anyone got the Tork and Minnie reference, it's under 30 years old, I'd be very impressed. There's an old show with Robin Williams called Mork and Minnie. There you go. I'm amazing with the nicknames. All right, let's go to the Pistons. Doug Rose.
Sold to a different owner.
All right, okay, I like it.
Oh, right.
3 to 5 years. I mean, I think the best they can do with the roster that they have, unless there's some major changes, free agency additions, between the 6th and 8th seed in the playoffs, max.
All right, let me go back to the Tigers for myself. 3 to 5 years, division title and ALCS at worst. I don't know about a World Series, but an ALCS appearance and a division title in the next 3 to 5 years for the Tigers. Pistons, they get Obi Toppin, it changes everything. But I believe Dwayne Casey's the right guy. If they can make the right moves and make that team lean and mean to bring in not a guy like Durant specifically, but like a Steph Curry or a Porzingis. I'm not saying those players exactly, but a high-level young player that can be there for a long time. They will win multiple playoff series and, dare I say it, get back to the Eastern Conference Finals. All right, let's go with the Detroit Red Wings, D. Rose.
So I think they're definitely going to make the playoffs in the next 3 to 5 years. And everybody knows that in the NHL, if you make the playoffs, you got an opportunity to get to the Stanley Cup and win the Stanley Cup. So my hopes are that they get to a Stanley Cup in the next 3 to 5 years. Realistically, I really believe that the way the playoffs work in the NHL with the 8 teams from each conference, the Wings will definitely be in the playoffs. And then at that point, who knows?
All right, Lawton.
The Vegas Golden Knights prove that it can turn around in 1 year.
Here we go.
Let me tell you. So that's the beauty of hockey, though. I mean, the beauty of hockey is if you're the 8th seed, you got a chance. And let me tell you, they got the right guy at GM. I wholeheartedly in the next 3 to 5 years believe they will be a championship contender in the NHL.
All right, absolutely. I'll go and say it right now. In the next 3 to 5 years, the Red Wings will appear in a Stanley Cup Finals. I'm not going to say if they can win it right now, but they will appear in a Stanley Cup Finals. All right, let's end with, that lovable team. My favorite team, the team that has broken my heart more than all my girlfriends combined, the Detroit Lions. Doug Rose, 3 to 5 years. And a bonus question, will Stafford still be the quarterback in 5 years? Will Matt Patricia still be the coach in 5 years?
So Stafford will not be the quarterback in 5 years. Matt Patricia, I'm going to say probably no. He won't be there. I mean, that's just history, right? I'm going to make two predictions on the Lions. 3 to 5 years, they will win a playoff game. And the prediction for this year, which I talked a little bit about earlier, is I think the Lions are going to be in first place, and then COVID-19 is going to take over the NFL season. Because isn't that just pure justice for our Detroit?
It would be. All right, Lawton, wait till you hear my Lions prediction. And mine, I'm not like you to cheat the issue and not answer the question, but I'm just going to say what happens this year or the next NFL season. That is the next 3 or 5 years, so it counts. Lawton, I know you're a Fins fan as well, so is there a conflict of interest here? Fins up?
No. Fins up for sure. But as for the Lions, wild card will win a wild card playoff game this year. It has to happen if Matt Patricia wants to remain the coach and Matt Stafford wants to remain the quarterback. Beyond the next 3 to 5 years, I think that's probably all they get, unless some luck happens. I think this year's a really interesting year because you have, with all the NFC North teams, you got Stephon Diggs. He left Minnesota. You've got some controversy at the quarterback position in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers being upset for them drafting in the first round. And is Foles or Trubisky going to work in Chicago? We know they have a good defense. So I feel like this could be an opportunity for the Lions to at least slip into that wild card spot. And maybe it's their year to get lucky. We hope.
All right, as I mentioned, I'm going to say just about this year, whenever the next NFL season is, the Lions will win a playoff game. They will win a playoff game whenever the next season is. So there you go. All right, it's been a fantastic time. I love both you guys. I'm really happy that we were able to bring the show to you via the Xfinity Communities reps like yourselves. Before we go, though, I want to give you each a chance at a parting shot. Before I do that, though, once again, any viewers are interested in supporter services from Xfinity, please text XC Task Force to 734-887-6008. You can see it right there. Rep will get back to you directly, like these great guys, Lawton and Doug. We'll start with you, D. Rose, your parting shot.
I want to say congratulations to Brian and Carolyn. Brian also works for Xfinity Communities, and as I stated earlier, he's getting married this weekend. I'm in the wedding, and I wish it was a different time and we could have a little bit more fun with it. But congratulations, Brian and Carolyn, tying the knot this Saturday.
All right, congratulations. As we say in my religious, not really religious, but in my way, mazel tov. Lawton Lunce, the maestro.
My parting shot, I'm going to give some more love to the Indiana sports teams. Purdue Boilermakers, Matt Painter is going to have something for you this Big Ten basketball season. You got good guard play, and you're going to see some success. I feel it. You had a young team last year. I feel like the Boilermakers are going to revisit some of that success they had in 2016, 17, and 18. And he's had a really good recruiting class. And, hey, the Colts, how about the Colts? Phillip Rivers, let's get it done. They can at least win a wild card game in that tough AFC South this year. So we have some hope for our Lions and, of course, your Indianapolis Colts.
Yes, Little Rivers Band. All right, we want to thank all of you for watching. And, of course, the great D. Rose and Lawton Lunce. Call that number or text that number if you need any support. For me, as I always like to say, wash your hands, spread love, not hate. Be safe out there. Thank God sports are back for now. And the more careful and safe we are, the longer those sports will be back. So let's keep that all going together. All right, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. We appreciate it. Don't forget, I'm going to set up a live viewing for that Rob Parker interview that I did earlier today. We apologize for the audio. It'll be set up in the next 20 or so minutes. All the same streaming sources, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and now Twitch. I'm a Twitch guy. So check that out. A lot of fun I had with Rob Parker. We're able to get that there. Once again, thanks so much for watching. Thanks to Xfinity Communities. And, of course, for Doug Rose, for Lawton Lunce, I'm Dan Leach. Until next time, believe in the dream. Task Force out.